All right, this problem is about a freight company. Now, what is a freight company first? Well, a freight company is a business that carries heavy goods around the country for people. So if there's a company that needs to have a whole bunch of heavy stuff transported across the country, they might hire a boat or maybe a semi who will take all of that stuff and carry it across the country for them. However, freight companies are not free. They like to charge people in order to carry all their stuff across the country, and the amount that they charge is going to be dependent on how much all the stuff they're carrying weighs. So like this boat has a ton of stuff on it, so it probably charged a lot of money. So our problem says a freight company charges $25 plus $4.50 per pound to ship an item that weighs N pounds. The total shipping charges are given by the equation C equals 4.5 N plus 25. Graph the equation for N between 0 and 50 pounds and explain the meaning of the slope and the y-intercept. All right, so we have a freight company. We know that they charge $25 plus $450 per pound. They give us an equation and they tell us to graph it. So before we go any further though, if we look, the very first sentence says, it gives us a couple numbers. They tell us it costs $25 plus $4.50 per pound. Now that's important information, but they already used that information to give us an equation. So we actually don't need that information anymore. So let's go ahead and just cross that information out. Now we're left with the equation C equals 4.5 N plus 25. And they want us to graph it. But before we can graph it, we need to know which variable is our x and which variable is our y. Is the C the x or is the C the y? Well, before we can decide that, let's review slope-intercept form. We know that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. And if we line up our equation with the slope-intercept form, we see that our C lines up with our y and that our n lines up with our x. So we're going to say that C equals y and n equals x. Now we can proceed on and begin graphing. So here is the important information from that last section, and we can see that our y-intercept is a pretty big number. So we're going to want to start with a graph that has a big scale, because if we start at 25 and our slope is positive, we're just going to keep getting bigger. We're going to need to have big numbers on our y-axis. So to begin with, as always, we start by graphing our y-intercept. Our y-intercept is 25, so put that in between, right around where 25 would be on our scale. Now that we've got our first point down, we're going to use our slope, 4.5, to help us find our next couple of points. So our slope is 4.5, but we like having our slopes in fractions. Right now it's a decimal. So if we want to write 4.5 as a decimal, we can write it as 45 over 10. And then we know every time we go up 45, we're going to go over 10. So up 45 from 25 is going to put us at 70. So if we go up to 70 and over 10, our next point should be right there. And now we can draw a line through that. The second portion right here, it told us to graph the equation n between 0 and 50 pounds. And all they were saying there is that they wanted to look at the graph just for this section that we're showing here, between 0 pounds and 50 pounds. Finally, our last step is to explain the meaning of the slope and the y-intercept. To do that, let's go back to our original problem. And in it, we see our y-intercept right here is $25. It says a freight company charges $25 plus $4.5 per pound to ship an item that weighs N pounds. So our y-intercept, or $25, is just the initial cost. That's the beginning cost just to use the service before we add any weight. So slope-intercept is the beginning cost. The y-intercept is the beginning cost. After that, we look at our slope, and the slope is going to tell us how much the cost is per pound to ship. So M, our slope, is 4.5, and that is the cost per pound. And that is all. Have a good day.